Hello and welcome to Loring Vicariously, where we never have any technical difficulties at all. Good morning, I'm on my first cup of coffee, and today we will be talking about the legions and their Primarchs. Short disclaimer, I do have a cheat sheet for this episode because there are a lot of numbers. I do think that I would remember them all, but they'd be very out of order. So I have been taught the numbers of the legions. We used to quiz me while on painting stream on Twitch. So I have been taught these numbers. They've never really stuck, but I'll include a picture here of my cheat sheet and what is on it, because I want you to know that most of this stuff does come from the depths of my memory, where the community has implanted it with their repeated memes and discussions. So let's jump right into it. They're the 20 legions and their Primarchs. Or rather, the 18 legions and their Primarchs, because the 2nd and 11 legions are, they're redacted. And this is a brilliant move on Games Workshop's part, because it allows every player to have their own alternate universe of 40k where they can flesh out these two Primarchs and make their very own legions. Most people that I see tend to do successor chapters. They're different. The words mean stuff, and I don't know exactly what they mean. I think Legion was the big group of people that they had at the beginning in 30k, and then chapter is much smaller because a lot of people have died. I don't know. I've never read anything from the Horus Heresy. But so we have 18 because two of them don't exist in any written media or even in memery. Alright, so we begin first with the First Legion, Dark Angels, who are led by the Lion L. Johnson, which I just recently found out in one of the Facebook groups that Lionel Johnson is actually like a real person. There was a poet, a British poet named Lionel Johnson, who died in, I think, 1902. The really interesting thing about this guy, his most famous poem is called Dark Angel, and it's about like hiding sin, which fits with the Dark Angels because they have a group called the Fallen, who are heretics that they don't want anybody to know about. So they go to seek out heresy just to make sure that it's not the Fallen. But the interesting thing about the poet Lionel Johnson is I don't know how many of you are into like history and poetry stuff, but there was this whole debacle with Oscar Wilde. Yeah, that whole thing was because Lionel Johnson introduced his cousin, Lord Alfred Douglas, to Oscar Wilde in 1891. So the whole Oscar Wilde going to prison because of homosexuality is all Lionel Johnson's fault. I gather that there's some parallels with the 40k Lion and things being his fault, but I'm not sure exactly what. If you'd like to enlighten me, leave a comment down below. So we've already discussed that the second Primarch doesn't exist. The third is Emperor's Children, who are led by Fulgrim, the most perfect of all the Primarchs. I didn't say that Dark Angels were dark green and have lots of cloaks, and they're very edgy. They're super edgy. They're the edge boys. The Emperor's Children wore purple and gold, and they were the only legion who was allowed to wear the Imperial Aquila on their chests, because they were the perfect warriors, or at least the closest that anyone could get. Fulgrim, their Primarch, was the most beautiful the kindest, not really the kindest, but you know, the kindest Primarch. He had an aesthetic sense about him, and he carried a sword that later turned out to be his downfall. He was best friends with Ferrus Manus, who later he had to kill and divest him of his head, because he just wouldn't listen. Also, that damn sword was actually evil and whispering terrible things into his brain. He fell to Slaanesh, and so did his legion, and the Emperor's children are now dedicated to Chaos and Slaanesh, and Fulgrim himself is now a hot daemon prince with wings and a snake boy body, which someday, hopefully, we'll get a model of. Oh no. I'm holding out for it. Number 4 is the Iron Warriors, who, this was the one that took me the longest time to remember their Primarch. I still don't know very much about what the Iron Warriors do. I think they like to smash stuff, and I think they're gray, like boring gray. But their Primarch is Pertarbo, and my little mnemonic device for remembering him, because he was the last one that I ever learned, was Iron Warriors, Iron Warriors. Who's the Primarch of the Iron Warriors? I don't know the Primarch of the Iron Warriors. I'm very perturbed that I don't know the Primarch of the Iron Warriors. Ta-da! Pertarbo. He's not a very interesting guy. I gather not many people really talk about him. So we'll skip on to the White Scars, number 5, 5th Legion, who they're led by Jagatai Khan. They like to wear white with red accents, I think. Maybe a little bit of a yellow lightning bolt action, maybe, if I'm remembering correctly. But they like jet bikes, and they are like Sonic. They gotta go fast. That's their whole shtick, is they like fast things. Number 6 are the Space Wolves, led by Leman Russ. Not the guy, not the tank, because there is a tank called the Leman Russ, and he was like the most jock of jocks. Like, the Space Wolves are very space Viking, and they ride wolves for their cavalry. As I gather, there are no wolves on Fenris, meaning that dudes turn into wolves to get ridden, which is kind of confusing for me. I think there's like a curse thing going on. But the Space Wolves are one of the legions who's most talked about having their guys like do it with people. So I see them brought up a lot in the whole Space Marines don't have sexual relations conversations. Because canonly, I know at least Lucas the Trickster has had relationships, including that. So yeah, they're party space Vikings who ride giant wolves. Gotta love them. 7th Legion is Imperial Fists, led by Rogal Dorn, who has this mythical mustache that I think one of the models from Forge World was released and he didn't have a mustache, and the community was incensed. Like, they were so mad. So Rogal Dorn is supposed to be this mustachioed hero, and he and his Imperial Fists build a lot of fortifications and defend them, I think. That's what I've gathered. 8th Legion is the Night Lords, led by Conrad Kurz, who is like the dark, edgy chaos version of Batman. And if I were going to have another chaos force, I would probably choose them, just because I like that aesthetic, and he's one of my favorite Primarchs, partially because, like, I somewhere got the idea that the Night Lords are not actually traitors. They're just, like, double agenting in order to prevent a bigger bad from happening. So I don't know where I got that idea, but it's lodged in there, and my brain really enjoys that idea. I do think that Conrad is dead or missing in the warp, one of the two. If you know how Conrad Kurz died or have proof that he's not dead, please comment down below and let me know. Set me straight. Number 9 is the Blood Angels, led by Sanguinius, the second most beautiful of the Primarchs. There's an argument there whether Fulgrim or Sanguinius was the most beautiful, but Sanguinius was definitely the golden boy. I do believe he had beautiful golden armor and these pure white angelic wings. And so the Blood Angels have probably one of the prettiest paint schemes, with all the gold and the red. They do have some really cool looking units called the Sanguinary Guard. There's a secret to the Blood Angels in that they are space vampires. They drink blood because they have the red thirst, and some of them, due to a flaw in their gene seed, maybe all of them, I don't know, but they have this thing called the Black Rage, which is what it sounds like. They get real angry sometimes. But yeah, Sanguinius is dead, and he was killed by Horus in the, like, final battle with the Emperor, I think. It's like Sanguinius tried to defend the Emperor, and Horus killed him, and then the Emperor killed Horus, maybe while he was dying? Well, fuzzy on that part. But moving on to the 10th Legion, we have the Iron Hands, led by Ferrus Manus, who, as we heard before, is dead. He got his head cut off by his best bro, Fulgrim, because Fulgrim kept trying to warn him, and he just wouldn't listen. And things just, that escalated quickly. It escalated. So the Iron Hands, the chapter tends to, I believe, cut off one of their hands and replace it with a mechanized version, thus being an iron hand, to improve themselves. And I think they really like to make things. I don't know why I think that, because I can't remember any specific conversation that would lead me to believe that, but that's what my brain tells me. So skipping 11, because they don't exist, we have the 12th Legion, which are the World Eaters, who have fallen to chaos, and they are led by Angron. Oh, this is the sad one. So when the Primarchs were scattered around the universe, the galaxy, Angron was sent to this planet where they pounded nails in his head and irrevocably changed the way his brain works. And he's just angry all the time, and it's not his fault. Like, the things that happened to Angron were really crappy, and he deserves a hug. So his World Eaters decided that they were going to do the same thing and be just like their Primarch because they loved him so. And they all got nails pounded in their head. And they all fell to chaos, and they serve Khorne now. Which is fitting, I guess. Slaughter and anger go hand in hand. But World Leaders also have some of, the cutest memes, like Karn likes kittens, and the Lord Tara, I don't remember her last name, but there's this comic with this little girl who's being held by, I think it's Karn. And she says, prepare whatever the main gun on the ship is. and he like melts because she's so cute. But yeah, so the incongruity, however we're pronouncing that word, I'm still on my very first cup of coffee and I'm only a third done with it. Thank you for your patience with me. Yeah, they have cute comics. I like the incongruity, the juxtaposition of their anger and slaughter up against, Klein likes kittens. Right, so moving on to 13th Legion, lucky number 13, which are the Ultramarines, who their luck has resulted in them being the poster boys for Games Workshop. They're the good old boys, the fresh-faced football players who are just, wholesome. They're so wholesome that people really dislike them, and they are led by Rabote Gilliman, whose name is often mispronounced by the community. There's a whole list of them, but the number one mispronunciation that I see is Rowboat Girly Man. And many people dislike the Ultramarines just because Games Workshop gives them so much attention, and that they're generally pretty wholesome buttheads. We'll call them, because they stick to the book that they're supposed to be following directions from, the Codex Astartes, I think it is, which was not written by the Emperor. It was written by somebody else. I can't remember who, but they like to uphold that and do the best thing for the Imperium, which sometimes is not good things. My cat says hello. Apparently everyone just wants my attention this morning. They're not getting it, you guys are. So Legion number 14 is the Death Guard, who fell to Chaos. Obviously, they fell to... Hi, cat. They fell to worshipping Nurgle, the Chaos God of Disease. My cat is very insistent that he wants my attention. They were originally biological warfare specialists, and that basically hasn't changed because now they are biological warfare. And they're undying biological warfare because Papa Nurgle loves them. Mortarion does have one of the prettier somehow, that grotesque beauty of Nurgle shines through on his model, and it's extremely well sculpted. And but they're gross. They're so gross. Morty's very gross. Legion 15 is the Thousand Sons, led by my favorite Primarch, Magnus the Red, who I often call my boyfriend. He is the biggest book nerd out of all the book nerds, and the Emperor told him that he was not to learn magic, but he went ahead and learned magic anyway. Sorry, I have the hiccups. It's really hard to talk when you have the hiccups. But so he went ahead and learned magic anyway, despite the Emperor telling him, no, don't do that, because the Emperor didn't tell him why not to do that. And so he was tempted, and he learned some of the secrets of Tzeentch. But he was a good boy for the most part, until Leman Russ started to pick on him, and he uncovered this big plot to betray the Emperor, and he tried to warn the Emperor through magic telepathy, and the Emperor was like, bruh, you just ruined my experiment, and now there's all kinds of daemons loose in the Imperial Palace. It's all your fault. You are a worthless son, and I'm gonna send Leman Russ to burn your homeworld. And that happened, and Magnus was sad, and so he left, and he took his legion with him, who have one of the prettiest color schemes. They're like this teal and a warm gold, and they have a very Egyptian theme. And they left and went to Tzeentch land. And Tzeentch, being the chaos god of change, started to warp their bodies. And so Ahriman, the second in command, did this big spell called the Rubric of Ahriman that was meant to sort of lock the Marines into a single form. And what it ended up doing was turning them into living dust inside their armor. Oops. But Magnus got real tall and real muscled and real red and is now a Daemon Prince. He's got these really cool like claws and the sort of Tzeentchy birdie stuff is starting to like on his legs and whatnot. And it's starting to make him real party. Legion 16 was originally called the Luna Wolves. Later, they became the Sons of Horus, and then again changed their name to the Black Legion. They were, of course, led by Horus Lupercal, the original heretic from the Horus Heresy. They fell to Chaos, of course, and work for Chaos Undivided. Horus, you know, he was the mechanism of all of the problems, even though to this day that I say that Lorgar, it's all Lorgar's fault, but Horus was the acting cog in the machinery of the Horus Heresy, and that's why it is called the Horus Heresy. Horus is, of course, dead. And I think his second in command was Abaddon, however we're pronouncing it. They were black, and they have like this like creepy eye motif on their armor. Next, we have the Word Bearers, who are led by Lorgar, who it's all his fault. Lorgar is the creepy dude who created the Imperial cult, despite the Emperor not wanting to be seen as a god. And he's just like, he has this real slimy feel to him. I don't know, I don't like him. It's all his fault. They were black, and they serve Chaos Undivided. 18th Legion is the Salamanders, the nicest boys in all of the Imperium, if you ask me. They wear green, and at one point in the fluff, their skin was turned coal black through something with their gene seed. I don't know if that's still canon, but they all grow up on this highly volcanic world called Vulcan that like makes and unmakes itself a bunch of times a year. Like I think it's twice a year. The whole thing just like completely turns inside out and makes new land. They live with the people on Vulcan, and they craft their own weapons. Not on Vulcan. On Vulcan is the Primarch. Nocturne. That's the planet. Because, haha, I'm smart. Vulcan is the Primarch. And he is the nicest guy around. And also, he can't die. He's a perpetual, which means that he's just going to come back if he gets killed. Much like the Emperor. However, the Emperor is a natural perpetual, and Vulcan is a created perpetual. I don't know what the difference is in that, but there apparently is a difference. But the Salamanders are nice guys. They like to protect the innocents, and they craft their own weapons. So, in addition to being nice, they're also very crafty. 15 points, Salamanders. We're almost done. We have 2 left. Legion number 19 is the Raven Guard, who are led by Corvus Corax, common raven, smartest of all birds. He is usually depicted as having like a little bit of an emo-ver, and I kind of feel that he's real pouty that he didn't have wings, because as I gather, a lot of the Raven Guard have jump packs. They wear black and have like a wing motif, and they're wannabe flyboys. So yeah, they're a little bit edgy too. There's a lot of things in 40k that are at least just like a little bit edgy. Because edgy is cool. Next, we have the last one in the list, Legion number 20, the Alpha Legion, which I think is the only one that has Legion in its name. Confusing to people who are new to 40k because it's called a chapter in 40k, not a Legion. So just to clarify that terminology there. Alpha Legion currently is a chapter. This Legion, this chapter has arguably the most interesting Primarch, because it has two Primarchs. Vicarious and Omegon are twins that nobody knows are twins. They pretend to be each other and also pretend to be just like normal Space Marines in their chapter. So they have this whole I am Spartacus thing going on. They have fallen to Chaos. I do believe they serve Chaos Undivided. But the community has this big hard-on for saying that they're not really traitors. Like they're spying on Chaos for the Imperium. But I have not seen any sort of citation or proof of that. It's just like a pet fan theory. So nobody knows if Alfarius is dead, if Omegon is dead, or if they're still alive doing like James Bond spy things. They have a really pretty teal and silver, I think, color scheme. And yeah, they're spies. They like to pretend to be other legions. I think in one of the game books for 8th edition, there was a little blurb about somebody talking about the Ultramarines and their signature teal coloring or whatever, their signature blue, with the lizard skin loincloths or something. They were talking very subtly that it was Alpha Legion pretending to be the Ultramarines, and it was very funny. So they do that. They're sneaky boys. Alright, so I've cut this down to 28 minutes now, which is great because the first one was 45. I'm going to try and shorten our episodes even more, so they're like little amuse-bouches of humor and lore in the future. Please let me know what else you'd like me to talk about, or if I have said something egregious, please kindly let me know that I'm wrong and that the facts are as they stand, or whatever anecdote I should be putting here about correcting myself. Let me know, because I would ideally, in the far, far future where there is only war, I would like to do a second lore series where I go back and I explain with a touch more seriousness all of the interesting little tidbits. But yeah, we're trucking right along. These are gonna come out. My schedule is hopefully every 2 weeks, which will leave me 26 episodes a year if I don't take a little vacation. I'm going to try and get ahead of them so that we can have a release schedule where things automatically release. But until then, I will see you in 2 weeks. Don't forget to live, laugh, lore.